Goeienaand, good evening, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. And you know, there's one story that really isn't been looked into properly, and it all has to do with Cyril Hippo Eyes Ramaphosa. He is facing flack from every direction you can imagine, and not from just within his own party, but also now with potential fraud charges as well. Let's discuss the fraud or corruption charges first, and then get on to what's happening within his party. And at the end of this intro, I'm going to play you a video where the leader of the DA talks about the really hard position Ramaphosa is sitting in right now. No wonder he's gone very, very quiet. Public prosecutor Busiswe Mkhwebane is investigating President Cyril Ramaphosa for alleged money laundering related to donations of more than 400 million rand to his ANC presidential campaign. According to the paper, Mkhwebane has scrutinized 3 bank accounts linked to Ramaphosa and is questioning certain transactions. DA leader Mzumzi Maimane submitted a complaint against Ramaphosa in November last year. The DA's complaint arose after Ramaphosa initially told the National Assembly that his son Andile had received money from Bosasa for services rendered in terms of a consultancy contract. The presidency later corrected that reply in a letter to National Assembly Speaker Batika Mbete. The president said the 500,000 rand payment in question was actually a donation that had been made to his ANC presidential campaign, of which he had been previously unaware. Bosasa has received billions of rand in government contracts over the past decade and has been implicated in alleged corruption during the Commission of Inquiry into State Capture. Earlier this month, Maimane said that he had written to Mkhwebane to demand she release the full unredacted report on relations between Ramaphosa and controversial facilities company Bosasa, now known as African Global Operations, within 48 hours. This after a report in the Sunday Independent said Mkhwebane's preliminary report had found Ramaphosa guilty of inadvertently misleading Parliament and that he had failed to declare a 500,000 rand donation from Bosasa boss Gavin Watson to his ANC presidential campaign in 2017. Last week, the public protector granted Ramaphosa more time to respond to allegations relating to a campaign donation to him by Bosasa. Mkhwebane's spokesperson, Opar Sebakwe, said the president's requested an extension until June the 28th, and she granted it with hope that he would respond sooner. Ramaphosa has cited preparations for the State of the Nation address as denying him an opportunity to consult with his legal team, Segapwe said. Segapwe pointed out that the Public Protector's Office had brought Ramaphosa's attention to the evidence that implicated him, and that is why he needed to respond before a report could be drawn up. It has now been revealed that Mkhwebane's investigation extends beyond the initial 500,000 rand, but to other transactions in 3 bank accounts are linked to the president. According to the publication, the investigation has led to suspect that Ramaphosa has used these accounts to launder money. The presidency did not respond to these allegations, telling the paper it would submit its response to the public protector in the next few days. Ramaphosa's campaign managers have reportedly denied that the president had any knowledge or control over donations to his campaign, and that Mkhwebane was confused about the funds and what they were used for. Some of the money in question was reportedly among the things used for logistical purposes. The paper quoted James Motati, who said Ramaphosa did not have any knowledge of any transactions. Isn't it nice to just say, I didn't know? In February, Ramaphosa issued an 8-page statement to the public prosecutor in which he stated he was not aware that a payment had been made on behalf of Mr. Gavin Watson to the CR17 campaign. However, should Mkhwebane find against Ramaphosa, it could provide evidence for, here's the big word, impeachment. Impeachment means he would have to step down as president. Now, why this is very, very interesting, as I've earlier reported in a video, is Ramaphosa's support in the ANC it's dissipating. You know, they're not happy with him. You got Ace Magashula, who's saying things about Ramaphosa, and they are just waiting for an opportunity to throw him out. This is something I talked about before the election happened in May 8. The Zuma faction are just dying to get their teeth back into power. And if that happens, believe me, your rand is gone. It's completely gone. The only thing holding the rand together right now with sticky tape is Ramaphosa being in the presidency. Moody's will, without any question at all, pull the rand down to junk status, and that will trigger all sorts of crap happening to the value of the rand. So you're kind of in a dream zone at the moment where you can still take action, like buy physical gold or physical silver to protect the value of your assets if you've got cash in the bank. Or you can hang around and, take your chances, but it's not looking good. Anyway, here comes the video where they're talking not only about Ramaphosa's big problems right now, but also the impact that Eskom is having on the entire economy when it comes to what is happening in South Africa. All right, guys, please remember to subscribe to be kept informed. Ring the bell for the updates, and have a great evening. Bye for now.
We must take it in context. In February, the president spoke about unbundling Eskom. In June, he talks about giving it more money. Which is it exactly? And what is more worrying is that we're one of the last few countries who are not only so heavily coal dependent, but more seriously, who still have this national grid without reform. We need deliberate reforms. And what the president should have done tonight is actually said, look, let's have a distribution company that can compete. Let's introduce more independent power producers. Let's allow cities to be able to generate their own energy and be able to buy from independent power producers. If you look at the Western Cape as a simple example, already here now, 4 signatures away, we could in fact take the Western Cape out of the national grid and be able to provide energy so that there's sustainable energy. So I think tonight was a missed opportunity to put bold and decisive plans on the table.
Why have we not seen any progress? Because in February he spoke about, like Tini said, breaking up the Eskom into 3 separate parts. He spoke about appointing a chief restructuring officer. He mentioned the chief restructuring officer again tonight. We haven't seen an appointment. And there was no mention of the unbundling of Eskom. Why has there been no progress?
The president has got 3 fundamental constraints. The first is money. His party has stolen enough money that we're running out of money. That's why, so effectively, what you're always going to end up doing is borrowing just to keep the lights on. The second is that his party cannot agree on policy. So whilst on one end, he's supporting unbundling, other people in his party and his unions are simply not supportive of him. And the third ultimately is that there's a leadership deficit. The fundamentals are the fact that when you talk about leadership across all state-owned enterprises, you're dealing with a bloated state, which makes the state incapable of being able to do anything. You can't deploy cadres to the state and hope that by some odd miracle they'll be able to do the things that they need to get done. So against those constraints, the president can talk all he likes. He's simply not going to be able to achieve the objectives that he sets himself out to.
Lucy, as the main opposition, one of the issues you've harped on about for a while, even beyond, before Ramaphosa came into power, was reconfiguring the state. I hear you now speak about the bloated cabinet. Like, does that still remain the case for you? I think we're down to 26, 28 ministers now. Obviously, there's a lot of issues around the deputy ministers. A lot of people are not happy with the amount, but he's done at least that one thing. Not satisfied still?
More. He should have been, again. What President Ramaphosa is skilled at doing is being able to create an illusion of having done something, but actually not have. He's like a magician.
Well, like Peter Groenewald says, he mesmerizes.
That's what sounds like he did it with a magician.
That's the thing, and we all buy this happy juice that says he's cut the state. But how? just by saying he could have been much more aggressive. I think we need fewer ministries. Yes, there are incredible constraints, but he should be much more aggressive on that stage. He's instead added more deputy ministers. So the cost of securing the executive has still remained largely intact in a state that in fact needs to be doing much more about itself leading the way and cutting.
He's clearly battling his own party, isn't he? You mentioned that earlier, about the party that can't decide on policy. We saw the fracas recently around the South African Reserve Bank. Many people expected cabinet to be smaller than it is. We saw the appointment of some dubious characters as chairpersons of portfolio committees yesterday. Do you see him winning this fight inside his party? Do you see him trying hard enough to win this fight?
I can't, because fundamentally, if the future of this country is going to go in the right direction, we need either a new ANC or a split ANC. The problem at this point in time is that it speaks in forked tongues. It says it wants a developmental state, whilst in fact it needs the private sector to invest. Those things are at odds with each other, because if you say you want the state to be the leader of development, then you must ask the private sector to be subservient to that. We've seen economic growth. Countries that grow economically are the ones who reduce the size of the state, focus on the private sector and give investment into that, and actually allow people to be entrepreneurs. You cannot have it both ways. You can't on one day say you want private property rights and then on another day talk about an actual nationalization of land. You cannot. So you can affirm the constitutional imperative of the Reserve Bank. You can't on another day also talk about how you want to talk about quantitative easing. All of these dichotomous positions are ones that tell me that this is a party that actually likes to talk left but walk right, or play the violin with one hand.